Good evening, everybody. Welcome here to Talladega as we are back to continue on the regular season here for season 56 of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. This is race number 8, 3 races including tonight until we determine the playoff field. I'm Seth Cole, being joined as always by Michael Norman. We're seeing the drivers out here finishing up happy hour, a number of them taking the opportunity to make green flag pit stops, but Michael, we haven't really seen drivers have to execute green flag pit stops that much this season. Kind of seems like as soon as we get into that conversation and we see a couple duck to pit road, a caution comes out, and I don't know, is this going to be a trend for the remainder of the season since it's really getting down to crunch time for these drivers to try and get a playoff position?
Yeah, they've got to try everything they possibly can, practice it, whether they can do it or not. You know, like you said, we haven't seen them make green flag pit stops because a lot of times they've had the early cautions or the cautions would come out at just the right point in time. But you never know how a race is going to go. So it's better to have the knowledge of how to get on the pit road under green than to not have it or practice it at all.
And we're going to keep talking about this until the streak is eventually snapped, but 7 races in, 7 different drivers have gone to victory lane. This is pretty impressive. Obviously, there's a lot of big names in the field, a lot of super speedway experience all the way through the grid, but you just kind of get the feeling that in a series like this, you at this point would have seen at least one multi-time winner. Does the streak end here tonight?
It's very possible because all these different winners are usually the people that we see up in the front a lot, and so I feel like tonight could be the night that we get the streak snapping at 7 here, and we'll see a repeat winner tonight. Who? I'm not entirely sure yet, although I'm going to keep my eye out on that 712 of Bob Seminara tonight.
He's had a lot of consistency, came into last week as the points leader, finally finds victory lane, so he's looking for that #1 seed and those very valuable bonus points as the regular season champion 3 weeks removed from tonight. I think a big part too, I think I said this last week and I'll just echo it a little bit here this week too, I think a big reason why we've ended up having as many different winners in as many races has been that kind of X factor at the beginning of each and every one of these races, that random draw qualifying, drivers not necessarily able to predict their fate in the early going and having to adjust their strategy according to whatever number they end up being positioned in once the green flag drops. Now, we're going to be telling you guys your starting grid and everything in just a few moments. By my last count, 34 drivers are scheduled to take the green flag here tonight, but want to take the opportunity real quick to kind of amend something that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks in regards to how the playoffs is put together. Now, we've been giving you half the information, but not all the information. I want to thank Tim Nofsker for taking the opportunity to kind of set the record straight and let me know just exactly how the playoffs work here, so that way we can then tell it to you, the fans, which I think is really going to be important to give them the right information with only a handful of races left in the regular season. But there is indeed a win and you're in situation. But the top 10 in the point standings, regardless of whether they have a win or not, they are going to advance into the playoffs. The win and you're in situation is for drivers that may be outside the top 10 in the points, but still inside the top 20 in the standings by the end of the regular season. So we could end up having as many as 14, 15 drivers potentially in the playoffs, but the top 10 in points, regardless of whether they find victory lane this regular season or not, they will be in the playoffs at the conclusion of race 10. So with that being said, Michael, a lot of the guys that I was talking about the last couple of weeks, like Brian Schilling, Josh Metallic, Tim Nofsker, Glenn Harris, Chris Elliott, guys that could either very easily move in or out of that cut line. Now, all of a sudden, we're kind of looking at them of trying to preserve their spot in the playoffs. And I'm looking at about a good half dozen to maybe even 10 drivers that could shake things up big time that are just inside of the top 20 if they win here tonight.
Well, now things are going to switch to being more conservative now for those drivers that are without a win and inside the top 10. Now, instead of just trying to go all out saying, oh, well, I have to get a win to get in. No, now you have to stay in the top 10. So we might see these guys run a little bit more conservative this race.
And it is quite close down around the bottom of the top 10. of drivers within striking distance of each other that do not have the benefit of a trip to victory lane. Right now, Glenn Harris sits in the 9th position, Chris Elliott in 11th, and they're only separated by 8 points. John Godfrey currently 13th in the point standings, Cy Jones 14th. They're within 15 points of Glenn Harris, so a lot can change here tonight, and with the big fields we've had consistently week after week, a lot of points can either be gained or lost in the span of a single race. The landscape of the point standings can change in the matter of one 66-lap event, which these drivers are gritting up for now, as you can see, and Ken Roberts is going to get himself the pole position here tonight. He'll be alongside of last week's winner, Bob Seminara. That's going to be the front row. Seminara looking for back-to-back victories, while Ken Roberts is looking for his first victory on the season. And they're going to be rolling off behind that Ford F-Series pace truck in just a moment. We'll give you the rest of the starting lineup here, as it'll be Jason Scheck. I believe this is his best qualifying position to date this season. He'll be alongside of Dave Cannon in row 2. Donnie Garrett and Dave Melson, they're going to make up row number 3. Donnie Garrett, a former winner this season. Curlin Hurst and Chris Elliott. Talked about him just outside the top 10. The points come to this one. They share row 4. Josh Metallic is back behind the wheel of the 39 truck this evening. He's going to be rolling off from 9th as the defending champion. He'll have Nathan Balzer alongside of him to complete the top 10. John Godfrey and Milt Surratt, they're going to be in row number 6 with Richard Martin, the former winner this season, in 13th. Kelly Causey alongside of him in 14th. Billy Elliser and Andrew Miller, they share row 8. Tim Knopfsker and Brian Schilling in row 9. The top 20 will be completed by Glenn Harris and Greg Palmer. Wiley Coate and Bob Dixon, they're back in row 11. Row 12 holds Mark Paglia and Terry Bombard. Row 13 with Doug Hulick and Wayne Pribnow. Row 14, Rodney Sullins, the former winner this season, and Bernie Mobbs. Chuck McClure and Joe DeSpirito, a couple of former winners in their own right. They're going to share row 15, row 16 with Brian Lavelle and Cy Jones. And then bringing up the rear in row 17, 33rd place starting spot will be Doug Maluski, and Pat McCarsky will roll off from the 36th position. A lot of drivers that have wins this season, Michael, listed in the back half of the field. So I think you may have hit the nail right on the head with the fact that they've already got that insurance. As long as they stay in the top 20 in the point standings, maybe going to be a little bit more conservative here out of the gate, since they don't have the good starting track position in the big field.
Well, I say that now, but watch them prove me wrong and go 3 wide right at the start. But yeah, I feel like that would be the better strategy, is to run conservatively, because you know, you get caught up in a wreck. That's, as you said earlier, a lot of points that you're going to lose.
And we will also be keeping an eye on the battle within the battle. Tonight it is the semifinals for the Season 56 RTG Tally Challenge Bracket Series. Number 8 seed Brian Schilling going up against number 4 seed Joe DeSpirito. And number 2 seed Bob Seminara goes up against the 27th seed Grant Wesley. 3 former winners there of the 4 drivers in that semifinal. We'll see who's going to win out here this evening and move on to the finals next week. But we're also about to find out if we're going to have another driver capture a checkered flag here in race number 8. Ken Roberts up through the gears. Green flag is waving at Dega.
He got a good start. Couldn't quite clear the 712, so we'll see if he should be able to clear him now. We'll see if he stays low or moves up high.
Did he get too good of a restart might be the question, because he lost touch with Donnie Garrett at the initial get-go. Now Garrett, with a big push from Curlin Hurst out of turn 2, is going to lead the inside line. Ken looks like he wants to lead the outside line, but there's a gap from him back to Seminara. Seminara, big run, big shove to the 55.
We'll see who's going to lead lap number 1 here.
Got a couple of purple trucks down on that inside line. Donnie Garrett in the 77, Curlin Hurst in the 93, and then you've got the defending champion Josh Metallic there, third on the inside line. Top side, it's Ken Roberts, Bob Seminara, and the Domino Chevy Silverado of Dave Cannon. Roberts will lead the first lap of the night.
Inside lane gets a run in the corner, but off the corner, and man, it's that outside lane for sure.
Definitely is. You can see first place, maybe second place will be clear of the inside line by the time they get over to turn 3. The Monero was able to draft up to Ken Roberts very nicely there down the back straightaway. Lost touch with Dave Cannon, though. Cannon now, as he drafts back to the bumper of Seminara, he loses touch with Chris Elliott. So they're making the momentum happen there on that middle line, but they're not exactly lined up nose to tail. A bit of breathing space from second back to third, third back to fourth in that middle line.
A little bit of breathing room. You don't have to be, your nose doesn't have to be on the tail of somebody all the time.
And I wonder if a big part of that is, I mean, we've seen it in the last couple of weeks. Bumper grab has come into play a ton. I think a couple of our big wrecks last week were a byproduct of bumper grab. So the less amount of time you keep your front bumper to somebody's back bumper, the less amount of opportunity there is for bumper grab to come into play.
Look at that outside lane, gaining momentum, but very slowly. And there's only 4 cars in that very outside lane.
4 trucks being led by the number 4, Brian Schilling. He's got Greg Palmer and Glenn Harris with him. I believe that 4th truck was Terry Bombard, but he's kind of fading back. Going to have someone jump up there in front of him, I believe. Yeah, it's Kelly Causey. So they'll have 5 trucks up on that outside line. But you talk about them having a lack of numbers, but we've seen that in the past. You don't have to have the numbers up there on that top side to make something happen.
Well, again, they're proving me wrong. 4 laps into the race, and they're 3 wide already.
Yeah, there's
at the front.
No conservation there inside of the, well, maybe the good top 20 there.
Ooh, somebody else just moved up to the outside line, the very back there. I think that was the 80 truck.
That was Milt Surratt, so now about 6 trucks on that outside line, and Brian Schilling did edge out ahead of Donnie Garrett going into turn 3. We'll see if they can keep this momentum up through the tri-oval. We've seen that tri-oval last 2 weeks. That has been where the big wrecks have taken place, around the midway portion of last week and on the final lap of the race 2 weeks ago. So makes me a little nervous when I see them 3 abreast going through that particular portion of the track, but they make it through safely, at least this lap.
Brian leads this lap. This time now gets put into the middle lane.
Brian Schilling right now the highest driver in the point standings with a victory, 3rd in overall points. So like we talked about here tonight, with the way the playoff format works, he can just keep himself consistently up in the top 10 here, I think, for the remainder of the regular season, and he should be safely into a playoff position to battle for a championship. Now he moves to the middle line, and Greg Palmer is going to lead the top side. Greg Palmer is one of a couple of drivers that would be very interesting if he were able to find victory lane tonight, based on the fact that he doesn't have a win and he's not inside of the top 20, but a victory would more than likely move him up into a top 20 spot. He's 22nd in the points coming into this one, 7 points behind 20th in the standings. And Schilling took a look. He is going to jump up to the top side there on Glenn Harris, and he'll lead the 3rd line once again. This time, though, his wingman's going to be that 0-0 of Kelly Causey, and they are still 3 wide. That's at least 8 rows deep here.
I've held my breath. I can't hold it much longer.
Oh, man. The weird part about it is we're holding our breath up here. These drivers, I've talked with them, I've raced with them, they're comfortable with this. I don't know how you can't be on razor's edge every time you make it through a corner with a truck to your outside and a truck to your inside. I've been in the middle line in this series. It is not a fun place to be, but they take it all in stride.
Oh, yeah. It's what makes this fun to watch, They're just hold your breath action. Uh-oh, we got a truck slow. That is Wayne Pribnow. I am not sure if this had an issue. Maybe he just came off pit road. He also might have lost 4th gear. It says he's riding around in 3rd gear, but I'm not entirely sure.
We'll try and follow up on that. Pribnow was running up in the lead pack at least the last time by, so issue for him. I'm not certain. Maybe it was one of the cases of a spin below the double yellow line. Not certain. We'll see if we can follow up on that there, but troubles in the early going for the driver of the 14. You also saw down the back straightaway, Richard Martin, that STP 43 stepped out with left sides below the double yellow line, but tucked back in line.
It might have been some connection issues with Wayne Pribnow. I think that might have been what caused it.
is still on the lead lap right now at this point in time are being shown. So he would be obviously hoping for a caution to come out to catch back up to the lead pack, which has kind of, and I use that term very loosely, kind of settled out at the front. Single file for the top three: Garrett, then Hurst, and then Metallic. Metallic has had a very good season from the first race to the sixth race. We did not see him partake last week, but because he didn't race, he lost 4 spots in the standings. It dropped him from second to sixth. So he missed a week, but he's still in a playoff position. That just shows how good his finishes have been. And obviously, as the defending champ, would love to make a statement and head into the playoffs with a victory.
Absolutely. And that's just something that these guys strive for every week. Look who's in second place now.
Erlen Hurst, 19th in points. I mean, you talk about drivers around that 20th standings cut line that don't have a victory. If that Crown Royal
our
machine...
leader.
Whoa!
Our leader, I'm not sure what just happened.
He just disappeared, and that's why you see everybody fanning out just in case he reappears in the middle of the pack.
Well, I think he might be gone on that one.
Might be falling out. We'll wait and see if that's the case or if he ends up reappearing. But right from the lead, Donnie Garrett has a tough break there. I guess the good news for him is he has a win in the bank.
He just fell out.
Donnie Garrett, he'll be trying to make his way back in. I believe, if I recall correctly, if you fall out of the server, they get you all but 1 lap back, and then obviously under a potential caution, he would be one of 2 lucky dog recipients and get back in the lead lap. But tough break there.
Going to give the lead to Curlin. That's going to give the lead to Curlin Hurst. Maybe not exactly the way he wanted to get it, but I'm sure he'll take it.
And Curlin Hurst almost ended up losing the lead because when Donnie Garrett disappeared, he jumped up to the top side. There really wasn't anybody up there with him, and Greg Palmer gave him a really good shot and was able to keep him ahead of that inside line. So Curlin Hurst has got to thank Greg Palmer for the fact that he is leading the field down the back straightaway right now, because they could have very easily left him out to dry. He was about 3-4 miles per hour slower than everybody else behind him at the time.
Yeah, but I can't blame him, though. You know, when somebody disappears like that, you've got to go somewhere and hope that they're not there.
Look at the car running third. That's Glenn Harris, the 08. He's been Mr. Quiet consistency, I guess we could call him here this season. He's been up inside the top 10 pretty much the last 4 or 5 weeks. He didn't have the best of performances last week. He dropped a couple of spots, but he's 9th in the points coming into this one. And, you know, obviously we talk about with the random qualifying that everybody adjusts their strategy, but even if there was qualifying, you've still got those drivers that go out there and think, you know, I don't know if I necessarily have the experience to be able to win one of these things, but I could certainly point my way in through consistency. And Glenn Harris, at least it seems like week after week, has been one of those drivers. And, you know, more often than not, Michael, we see those drivers, when they're consistent, they're up at the front, not necessarily leading the race, but up inside the top 5, up inside the top 10. And with how unpredictable super speedways are, sometimes we end up seeing those Cinderella stories where that consistent driver is able to make their way through a wreck and pick up a checkered flag.
Absolutely. You know, it's a story, a Cinderella story that's always possible at a check like this. It's like Larry Mack said, if you start your engine and take the green flag, you have a shot at winning this race.
Looking at the 55 of Ken Roberts, I mean, you talk about a Cinderella story last year, made his way into the playoffs with a victory, and he certainly could make his way into a playoff spot if he were to win here tonight. He is the cut line driver, if you will, for the top 20 in the point standings. He and Sean Prime were tied for 20th coming into this one. Prime not in the field here this evening. So Ken Roberts, no stranger to victory lane, would like to have victories in back-to-back seasons, as he is 5th right now behind Bob Seminary, Glenn Harris, Greg Palmer, and Curlin Hurst. Or correction, that is not Bob Seminara. That's the other red and white machine. They look very similar. Sometimes they're sponsored the same way as well, but that's actually the 711 of John Godfrey, who, you know, while we're on the subject of drivers who picked up a win last year, Godfrey did the same thing. As a matter of fact, too, let's not forget that John Godfrey has a Super Speedway Series All-Star race victory also, so he's very good when it comes to races here at Talladega.
Absolutely, you gotta keep an eye out too. I was just about to say that too, with Godfrey being up here. 93 leading 22, and look at the 43 on the inside lane there. He's trying to creep up here back into the lead.
Demar trying to make something happen on that inside line. We saw about 10 laps ago where he looked like he might be ducking to the inside line to drop to the back of the pack, but found his spot back in line on the back straightaway, and now he's got Brian Schilling and Josh Metallic there with him, as well as some new colors for the 24 of Joe DeSpirito, it looks like there. Is that the, correction, that's the 26. That's why it looked like new colors. That's why I didn't recognize Joe DeSpirito's scheme. That's actually Billy Elliser in the 26 fourth truck on that inside line.
Trying to figure out which way to go now that line goes down to the inside.
Also trying to look here and see in the early going which driver has picked up the most spots since the drop of the green flag, and it appears it would be, at this point in time, Greg Palmer. Palmer rolled off the grid from the 20th position. He has picked up 19 spots since the start, running second place right now to Curlin Hurst. It's very impressive to me sometimes when a driver in the early going of a race, especially with when we saw that 3 wide several rows deep, how a driver can work their way in just a matter of laps from outside the top 15 to almost to the front of the field.
Yeah, and it's just that simple. It's just that quick. You pick the lane that's moving, and you can get up to the front in just a couple of laps. So, it's all about whether or not you actually want to be up at the front, and then picking the right lane that goes with it. As I hear them approaching, I believe that's got to be the 14 of Wayne Pribnow. Also, Donnie Garrett is back in as well.
Donnie Garrett right now last scored 2 laps down. There is the Wayne Pribnow machine, about maybe half a straightaway ahead of the race leaders. And do I dare say it, Michael? Do I dare jinx it? 17 laps under green flag conditions. We're about 2.5, 3 laps away from when these drivers are going to have to start considering making green flag pit stops.
Yeah, was it about 18 to 22 laps, somewhere around there?
Number we normally are given is around 19 to 21.
I was close, okay.
You were very close, yes. You were in the ballpark. Now we know that obviously Curlin Hurst, he'll probably be one of those drivers in on lap 19, since he's been out in front now for 7 laps. He is the only driver, with the exception of Ken Roberts and Donnie Garrett, who has led more than 1 lap. We've had a couple of drivers take a turn at the front for a lap. Greg Palmer did, Brian Schilling did, and so too did Josh Metallic. Also keeping up to date on the bracket challenge. Last time by, Brian Schilling, Joe DeSpirito, they crossed the line, 1 position separation, 11th for Schilling and 12th for DeSpirito. For the Bob Seminara Grant Wesley battle, right now, that battle is being won by Bob Seminara, as he is currently in 17th, and Grant Wesley not in the field. So we know Seminara is moving on. Question remains on who is he going to face next week. It could end up being Brian Schilling, who's been the most consistent driver this year without a victory, or it could be one of his Florida boy buddies in Joe DeSpirito. And I believe I'm starting to see radios lighten up, Michael. I think we're going to have some pit stops this time by.
Oh, yeah, here they come.
Race leader is in. 3 wide. How about 4 wide on pit road entry? Oh, and there it is on
pit road. A wreck on pit road. Godfrey, big wreck on pit road.
Godfrey, Harris, Milt Surratt. They're all stacked up. Kelly Causey's facing the wrong way. Terry Bombard was out in the grass there for a brief moment, it looked like. Everybody trying to get their trucks turned back around. It'll be a good 8-10 drivers that are going to have very slow pit stops here. Very congested pit lane entry. And that was right up at the front, too. Harris, I believe, pitted from around the 3rd spot. Now we'll see about this second group, which consists of, well, actually, is this the second group? I think these guys might have already been to pit road. Nofsker, Schilling and McClure. Yeah, I think they pitted the lap prior potentially.
Yep, and here comes the rest of them.
Yeah, now here come the rest of the drivers. Metallic, Terry Bombard.
Hey, let's take a moment to talk about, hey, we actually got green flag pit stops.
We did. We had a wreck, but it was on pit road, so off the racing surface. Race officials do not throw cautions for that. Oh, it looks like we got a driver out of the race. John Godfrey, who was in the middle of that stack up at the entrance of pit road, brought it down and passed right by his pit stall, made the left-hand turn to the garage area. That's a tough break there for the 7-Eleven.
I believe he might have been the one that started. If not, because he took a really good head-on hit into the inside pit wall.
That's our first retiree of the race, as Knopfsker, it appears, is going to probably cycle around as the race leader. Yeah, we can confirm that he, Schilling, McClure, Donnie Garrett, they all came to pit road the lap prior to when we saw the race leaders come down pit road, and that has worked out in their favor. Look at them flying by a bunch of these guys that were just on pit road moments ago. I think that 088 is more than likely, with the momentum on his side, going to be cycling out as the race leader.
I'm going to have to wait and see.
Talked about Grant Wesley was in the Final Four in the semifinal. Nice to see him here in our chat this evening. Unfortunately, stuck at work, but thanks for tuning in, Grant. You know that Grant, at this point in time, is in a playoff position with a victory a couple of weeks ago and came into this race 10th in the point standings. He'll drop a couple spots, but certainly not outside the top 20 at the conclusion of this one. And I believe now with that Jegs Chevrolet crossing the line, we should have our running order updated, and Knopfsker the race leader, Brian Schilling second, and Chuck McClure in third. Donnie Garrett is in fourth. Fifth place is where you find, or actually correction, Donnie Garrett is 2 laps down, we have to remember, because he ended up falling out. So he's fourth in line, but not in the lead lap. Bob Dixon is actually in the fourth position. Mark Paglia in fifth. Those were the 5 drivers that came down pit road the earliest, and now they find themselves up inside of the top 5 positions. Greg Palmer is in 6th, Chris Elliott 7th, Curlin Hurst 8th, Joe DeSpiro to 9th, and Josh Metallic in 10th. That's the way they crossed the start finish line last time by. As you alluded to, Michael, we got that round of green flag pit stops under our belt, all under green flag conditions, no caution in the middle of them. And as a result, we've got 30 drivers on the lead lap of 32 that are still running. As mentioned, John Godfrey, the only driver out of the race at this point in time. And we've got ourselves, what, about a 11 truck breakaway? Well, 12 trucks if you count the lap machine of Donnie Garrett up here at the front of the field. The caboose on that train, Andrew Miller in the 47. So good run right there for him. A limited number of starts this season, but knocking on the door of a top 10.
Absolutely. You know, it's a good run for him. It's all about positioning yourself, and so far that's what he's done.
You've got 2 groups right now. 11 drivers on the lead lap up in this lead group, and then you've got group number 2 that's trying to catch them, which is just 3 trucks. Terry Bombard, Rodney Sullins, and the 23 of Doug Hewlick. And you got another group of 4 back here. It includes our pole sitter Ken Roberts, Nate Balzer, Richard Martin, and Brian Lavelle.
Honestly, I'm surprised at having, what, 2 packs you said it was? Oh, actually,
yeah,
it's 3.
2 small packs there.
Oh, no, there's like 4 different packs. 5.
Yeah, here's the 4th
And
pack
this-
you're talking about.
5. I think it's like 5 packs here, and that's all because of the incident that happened on pit road. We do have 1 car on pit road for a while, and that's Milt Surratt still just sitting in his pit stall right now.
We'll have to follow up what might be wrong on the 80. He, right now, last time by, was scored 2 laps down. He'll go a 3rd lap down with Knopfsker heading into turn 1. So that is a position that Donnie Garrett will pick up. Wayne Pribb now 1 lap down in 30th. Garrett 2 laps down in 31st with that pass on Milt Surratt.
You know, I was going to make a joke about the 80 and the 08, but I probably won't now because it jinxed him just thinking about it.
Inverted numbers?
No.
I mean, we had the 39 pushing the 93 earlier on.
Think about putting 8008 in a calculator.
Ah, okay. Well,
if I could be immature for a moment.
Well,
But like I
you
said,
you
just
were.
thinking about that joke, I probably jinxed Milt Surratt.
Well, speaking of zeros and eights, you got the 088 of Nofsker out in front here, and
You
I
know,
mean Tim's
for
been
some reason, I thought you were going to say aces and eights. Wrong sport.
no. No. Although I think there are a couple of drivers the last couple of weeks with the wrecks we've seen, they were dealt dead man's hand.
True.
But Nofsker, he's been consistent this year. Can't count him out. Multi-time winner here in the Tally Challenge and 7th in the point standings coming into this one. Could lock himself up a playoff spot with a victory. Right now inside the top 10 in points, so he would be in line for a playoff spot in that regard anyway. You know, the thing about it is, too, a lot of people will think now we're going to be settling into long green flag run. We're going to see the small packs get smaller and smaller. But to be honest, this is usually when we end up seeing a caution come out more frequently. And the big reason why is with them all lined up single file, drivers up in this lead pack are going to be more and more anxious to gap themselves from the second, third, and fourth pack. The second, third, and fourth pack, they're going to feel that they have a sense of urgency to get up there now while they have the opportunity. And there's going to be a lot more pushing, a lot more shoving. And we've already alluded to it. A lot of our big wrecks this season have come about due to bumper grabs. So with a lot of pushing and shoving from the second group on back, they end up seeing some bumper grab and a spin potentially, bring out a caution and bunch all these drivers back up.
That's always a possibility.
Got some moves there at the back half of this lead group. I believe that was the 93 of Curlin Hurst who jumped up there. And he had some help. Jason Scheck in the 1. I believe he was a driver that was affected by the John Godfrey Glenn Harris incident on pit road. You see him losing a lap here under green, so he is going to be in a free pass position should we get a caution at this point in time.
Milt Surratt finally back on the racetrack.
And it looks like Donnie Garrett maybe still continuing to have connection issues. We haven't seen him drop out of the NR server since the first time in the early going from the race lead, but it looks like he is still having some problems in the TeamSpeak server, so we'll keep tabs on that 77 and see if he ends up disappearing at any point in time. Again, right now, Donnie Garrett, even if we were to get a caution with Jason Scheck going a lap down, he would not be in line for a free pass. Scheck and Pribnow are the two cars that are a lap down at this point in time. There's that outside line. Greg Palmer now leading it. He's got Chris Elliott offering the drafting help. Curlin Hurst is up there along with Joe DeSpirito in the 24. Mark Paglia, no friends on the inside line, trying to draft up to the back of Bob Dixon. Then just a tick back behind them, you got Josh Metallic and Andrew Miller, who have seemed to kind of be content to ride at the tail end of this pack. I'm almost wondering if those two guys might be saving fuel.
I mean, that's what I would think. You don't want to be up at the front leading. That's the worst possible place to try to save fuel at. So staying at the back there is not that bad of a strategy.
It's been a while since we've seen a race go completely green flag from start to finish.
And now we probably won't because you said that.
Well, I was going to bring up the fact, though, in terms of fuel strategy, we usually end up seeing, if we end up having those kind of races.
77 to pit road.
Yeah, he had to pit. That was his fuel window, obviously, with falling out of the server. You come back into the server with a full tank, and he was able to go about roughly 9-10 laps further than everybody else. Now he comes down for a regularly scheduled stop, and he'll probably lose another lap as a result. Certainly, I don't think will come out merged with this lead group that he was with. And you also, speaking of losing a lap, you just saw Milt Surratt lose a lap there in the 80 truck. So we're starting to now make it not only a battle for positions inside of these respective packs, but we're also having a battle potentially for the first two trucks a lap down should we see the yellow flag come out. And how about this? Gonna battle up here at the front. Greg Palmer to the top side of Tim Nofsker for the race lead. We're double wide, about 4 rows deep.
Whole pack has become a double wide. That could allow that second pack to slowly start catching them.
Boy, if that had been the finish, it would have been Greg Palmer by inches. Not certain exactly what the margin of victory would have been. Waiting for scoring to update on that, but now going to lose ground to Tim Nofsker there on that inside line. 3 1,000s, it said. 3 1,000s would have been that if that was the checkered flag right there, Palmer over Nofsker.
That'd have been one heck of a finish.
That's one thing that with a number of the races last couple of weeks finishing under caution, we haven't exactly had the benefit of being treated to a photo finish. Maybe tonight, as you see Donnie Garrett losing another lap there in the 77 after he made that pit stop. Greg Palmer's not going away. Palmer has only led 2 laps here tonight. Nofsker right there just led his 11th, so Palmer trying to get back up there to the front of the field, and he's got a good pusher in Chris Elliott right behind him. That 9 truck has been pretty committed to the back bumper of the 22, been pretty well locked to him as well. I'm not certain what we're seeing here, Michael. This is somewhat different from what we're used to. A lot of trucks up on that outside line, only 5 on the inside line. But that inside line is getting a very good run through the center of 1 and 2 and onto the back straightaway. It's maybe the first time in a long time we've seen the inside line be able to hold its ground.
I mean, technically, the inside lane, if you think about it, is the middle lane.
That's a fair point. That is a very good point.
And so, I mean, it does have its advantages here, but oh my gosh, these trucks get close to try to side draft each other. These guys don't remember that side draft doesn't exist in this game.
But they've told us as well, though, moving from the cup cars now to the trucks, they feel more comfortable with that, pinching each other down, not giving as much room. And as you said, it's not effective, but we can still call it side drafting the truck beside. Caution! We've got a yellow flag. That changes everything up as we race back to the start-finish line.
Big wreck in turn number 1. Richard Martin involved. Dave Melson, Glenn Harris, Bernie Mobbs, big wreck in
Damage
turn
on the
1.
rear end of Wiley Coate. Don't know if he was involved or not. There's Martin.
Oh, we talked about the caution bringing everybody back together, and it's going to happen at halfway.
Yep, coming back to the start-finish line, Tim Nofsker going to lead us back to the yellow. More than halfway through this evening's festivities, and our first yellow flag of the evening. We were about maybe 4 or 5 laps away from resurrecting the conversation again of potential green flag pit stops. I don't believe, no, they can't make it from here. There's at least one more pit stop on the horizon for these guys. Go back, take a look and see what happened in turn 1. This, based off of the drivers that were involved, I believe would have been pack number 3, if I'm not mistaken, of the split up that we had. Dave Melson was leading this group. Cy Jones is the Sunoco Chevrolet behind him. Oh no, the wreck was actually up ahead of Melson. Wow, that's a hard shot to Richard Martin. Bernie Mobbs involved, Glenn Harris involved. So let's go back and focus on the 43, who obviously was where this wreck began at. Oh, and he's going to get a little help, it appears, from the 043 of Brian Lavelle. Looked like Richard was trying to make a move maybe there on the outside line. Expected someone was going to jump up there with him. Brian stayed to the inside, and then Martin decided, all right, I'll come back down. And unfortunately for him, Brian Lavelle was already to his left rear quarter panel, and man, that's such a tough break for that pack that came into view there, that pack of 6 with the 43 sitting right in the middle of the racetrack.
Yeah, it was very interesting. It's a little hard to, all it takes is one wrong move at the wrong time.
I'm fairly certain, I don't know if we can get an angle on it or not. I would have thought that with the 43 spinning where he did, that the caution would have come out at that point. I'm a little surprised if that's the case, that pack came flying as quickly as it did. No, there was no caution at that point. The green lights are still on the caution lights. That's why these guys never slowed down. They didn't realize that there was a wreck up ahead of them. They saw still green, and so they kept their foot in the throttle. Oh, that's That is a tough break there. I'm shocked that the officials did not throw a yellow flag at that point.
Well, we've seen it happen before. It's just very tough, you know, tough call. Maybe they thought because there was nobody around, they didn't want to throw it, but they should have thrown it way before those guys approached.
Go on board with Dave Melson, see just how much reaction time he had. I would hope that there had been some communication that there was a car around on the front straightaway, but maybe not. Here's the onboard with the Wonder Bread Chevrolet. You can see the smoke up ahead. Oh my gosh, and you can see with that onboard, you could hear there was no lift. No bailing out of the throttle until it was too late. I don't know if the 43 maybe blended in with the pavement. It was almost as if those guys never even saw Richard Martin until they were right up on him.
Oh, goodness.
That's going to obviously have a number of trucks badly damaged for the remainder of this race. It has taken Richard Martin out of the event. He's going to join John Godfrey back in the garage area. No surprise, when pit road was open, everybody came down pit lane. Greg Palmer emerges with the race lead. Off of pit road, Knopfsker came out second. McClure, DeSpirito, and Schilling, that was the top 5. And I'm trying to double check here. I believe that Jason Scheck and Wayne Pribnow would end up being the recipients of the free passes. So we should have 28 drivers on the lead lap when we go back green. Looks like Donnie Garrett's going to take a wave around. Wiley Coates going to take a wave around there as well. Wiley Coate, I don't want to follow up on that for the 6. You can see he's got rear end damage, and he lost 5 laps at some point during that run. I'm wondering if maybe there was a incident on pit road that he was involved in that we might not have been aware of or something, but now
Could have
he
been the first one, the first incident on pit road.
could very well have been. He is now 5 laps down in the 31st position. Not certain exactly what happened there for the Castrol Dodge. He's now multiple laps down. Milt Surratt, I believe, might still be sitting on pit road. See if the 80 has returned back onto the racetrack or not. And, well, apparently he has. Yeah, there he is. He is 6 laps down in the 32nd spot. Now, he, Donnie Garrett, Wiley Coate, they will all pick up at least one spot here in the next 3 to 6 laps, depending on how many laps down they are, with the 43 of Richard Martin back behind the wall. Now, interesting thing in the case of Richard Martin, because we talked about with the way that the playoffs work, top 10 in points advance, and then any race winners outside the top 10 but inside of the top 20. Richard Martin coming into tonight was the only former winner on the season that was outside of the top 10 in points. Granted, he was in the 11th position, but it's not a good downward trend for the 43 to be in heading down the home stretch of this regular season. You don't want to head into that regular season finale with a chance that maybe a DNF takes you outside the top 20 and at the last moment takes away a playoff position from you.
Yeah, I agree. Tough break too, like we said, when you DNF, like how the 43 has, that's a lot of points you're losing.
So we get ready for our first restart of the evening. It's going to be on lap 39 of 66. So 28 laps will remain here tonight. As we alluded to with the timing of that yellow, there's no way that these drivers will be able to make it the rest of the scheduled distance without coming to pit road at least one more time. And you know, we ended up having kind of a tale of 2 races in between that round of green flag pit stops. We saw 3 wide, several rows deep in the early going of this race, and then everybody was kind of in their own little packs there. We had the lead pack with about 12, 13 trucks, and then gap back to 4 and a gap back to 3 and a gap back to 6. Now everybody's all bunched up again. I kind of get the feeling they all got tired of running single file. Now that they've got a bunch of trucks around them, we may end up seeing a deja vu of what we saw in the opening laps of tonight's event.
And I know one thing for sure is it's going to be exciting to see.
Way they're going to line up for this restart. Greg Palmer, the leader. He chooses the top line here for this restart. Leader's preference. Tim Knopfsker will be on the inside in second. Chuck McClure in third. Joe DeSpirito fourth. Brian Schilling will line up in fifth. Curlin Hurst is sixth. Mark Paglia seventh. Eighth, Josh Metallic. Ninth, Andrew Miller. And Rodney Sullins is going to complete the top 10. We've got 31 drivers still running. 28 on the lead lap, with Sheck and Pribnow getting the free pass, and Greg Palmer has the field in his hands, heading down here towards the acceleration zone, waiting on the flagman to wave the green flag back in the air here tonight at Talladega. Looks like Joe DeSpirito trying to time this restart to give the 22 a big shove. We'll see if he can do so. Green's back in the air. We're back underway here at Dega this evening.
Didn't quite get to his back bumper, the 24 did, so the 088 on the inside is going to have a good run.
We've seen here that inside line has been very strong for Knopfsker, McClure, and Brian Schilling. We saw that there just before that caution came out when Greg Palmer was trying to lead an outside line with the lead pack. A lot of movement, a lot of side-by-side there, weaving back and forth in both lanes. Drivers trying to line up those bumpers as best they can for optimal draft down the back straightaway. Advantage into three, give it to the inside line with Knopfsker.
He can't quite clear him to go up. But I think the 088 staying, Knopfsker staying to the inside, committed to it.
A number of drivers get involved in that wreck. They have continued on. Dave Melson took that big shot, as did Glenn Harris. We'll keep an eye on those drivers and see if they are going to be suffering engine or aero damage in any way if this thing continues under a long green flag run. Bernie Mobbs in the 31, I do believe that he just had a harmless spin, so he should be good to go, and we're already getting an early answer to that question. I just noticed the 038 of Dave Melson. He is dropping like a rock down that back straightaway. He's about 15, 20 miles per hour off the pace, it looks like.
Yeah, it's a very tough break. You never want to take it from somebody who, that you know what happens. You know, it's never fun to be that person with engine damage and just riding around. It kills all the fun that you're having, in a way.
Does. But I mean, when you think about it though, with how unpredictable super speedways are, he's got to stay on track, right? He's got to log laps because he's still on the lead lap at this point in time. And he's 24th in the point standings coming into this one. Now, granted, he's not going to win here tonight, but if he's got a chance of picking up even 1 or 2 spots in the standings, getting closer to 20th, and then maybe getting a victory in the next 2 weeks, that's a scenario that could play out. So you're kind of obligated to yourself to make sure that even if that thing's not up to speed, get the best possible finish you can out of it if it's still running. Dead heat to the start-finish line that time, but it's Knopfsker with the advantage. Knopfsker has led 14 laps here tonight. Greg Palmer alongside of him has led 6. Curlin Hurst has led 9. 2 laps led for Joe DeSpirito, 2 led by pole sitter Ken Roberts. Donnie Garrett has led 4. He is still trapped 2 laps down. He would be in line for a free pass should we get a caution in the next couple laps or so. And then 1 lap led apiece so far tonight by Brian Schilling, Josh Metallic, Doug Hewlick, and Terry Bombard. So we've had a number of drivers out in front, whether under green or under pacing, as we might be going 3 wide for a few moments. Yeah, that's Josh Metallic, Rodney Sullins, Ken Roberts forming lane number 3, somewhere around the 7th, 8th position.
Man, and it's beginning to get 3 wide again, Seth, and we know how exciting things get when it gets 3 wide, especially when we're coming up to just about 20 laps to go.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because I was just doing a little bit of calculation in my head of when these drivers went back green. If we stay under the green flag, talk about a money stop. The next green flag pit stop, should we reach it, is going to be with less than 10 to go. You cannot afford to make a mistake at that point in time, because more than likely, you're not going to have enough time to be able to make a recovery.
We saw what happened during the first round of green flag pit stops, which was not good for a lot of drivers. So
So does that change up the strategy, do you think? Because, let's kind of look at those packs that came down pit road during that green flag pit stop cycle. You had about, what, 4 or 5 that came down a lap earlier than the big pack. They cycled out to first through sixth. You had the big group of drivers that came down pit road altogether. Now, granted, if they had all made it on safely and all left safely, they would have had a big pack to be able to work with once they got back up to speed. But also very congested when you get to pit lane entry, and we saw a
oh
number of
boy,
drivers.
oh my gosh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but somebody made an abrupt turn. I want to say, I think it was the 712 of Bob Seminara, but someone turned way down to the inside and was going wiggling back and forth, and it scared me.
Well, they're all keeping it together at least for this point in time, but that second pack, big group of race trucks. If it had worked out, would have really been beneficial for them having the numbers game off pit road, but because it's so congested on pit lane entry, led to some spins, led to drivers losing a lot of positions, and for a few drivers falling off the lead lap. So, with that being said, do we amend our strategy of when we come to pit road and maybe come down in little packs for the money stop?
Little packs. I don't think there's a word in this series called little packs.
There's no such thing as a little
no,
pack in
yeah,
super
no
speedway
such
racing.
thing as a little pack. No. If anything, we might see him kind of come in a little earlier. Try to just top off the tank that much. But at the same time, it's really hard to call because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I kind of feel that Nofsker, McClure, Schilling, these are drivers that did that short pit strategy on the first, second green flag pit stops. I think they would probably be the group of drivers to do it again if we were to arrive at a second round of pit stops. Maybe not even for the reason that they did it before, but for the fact that they probably would have to, with Tim Nofsker being out in front as long as he has here. He'll be the one with the least amount of fuel once they end up getting to that fuel window. So if he comes to pit road, probably those that came with him on the first round of pit stops will come with him here on the second round.
But we're going to have to wait and see.
Andrew Miller
with him
making a
being
move.
leader.
Oh, he's going to get stuck in the middle. Big run on the top side for Joe DeSpirito and Bob Seminara. Seminara kind of repaying the favor to the 24. Remember last week, Bob Seminara winning the race with a big push through the tri-oval from Joe DeSpirito. They found each other again here, heading into 20 laps to go tonight at Talladega. Both former winners this season, both trying to become the first repeat winner on the season, as right now they ride in 7th and 8th.
As I can tell, the clear manufacturers in this series, this is a mainly Chevy-dominated series. So, I'm pretty sure the odds of a Chevy going to victory lane tonight are very, very high.
You are correct. It is majority Chevrolets. I believe we have in tonight's field 3 Ford F-Series, 5 Dodges, and there is no Dante Ricky in the field, so we have only 1 Toyota representative here tonight, and that is the 23 of Doug Hewlick. All the rest, Chevrolet bow ties. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that with the exception of Richard Martin back in race 2, yeah, Chevrolets hold the majority of the victories here this season. Richard Martin was the only non-Chevrolet driver who had gone to victory lane. Well, actually, hold on. You double check that. No, it's been all Chevrolets. Richard Martin's actually not a Dodge. He's actually a Chevrolet.
Chevy.
Yeah.
I think the 143 is a Dodge.
That's correct. Yep, I got the 2 STP trucks mixed up there. Nofsker's clear now on that inside line, but Joe DeSpirito trying to pull up alongside. Middle line or outside line, what have you, has Spirito, Seminara. They picked up Greg Palmer, Josh Metallic. There's some fast trucks up there. Rodney Sullins. I believe this is the first time when he ended up restarting 10th. I believe that was the first time that he was up inside the top 10 all night long.
I'm not sure what's happened to Donnie Garrett again. I wonder if he had some more issues, but they were lapping him pretty quickly here.
Donnie Garrett continuing to struggle here tonight. Main cause, connection problems for the former winner this season. He's going to fall 3 laps down with them passing him here under green flag conditions. If you're just joining us here, closing stages of the evening, potential green flag money stop looming. These drivers have only been under the caution one time this evening. Only 2 drivers out of the race as well. Granted, we have about 3 drivers off the lead lap, but 31 trucks of 31 trucks of 33 that started still running, 28 on the lead lap, and only 2 trucks back in the garage area. By all rights and purposes, so far this has been a pretty clean Talladega race, but
With
the
17
laps are
laps to
ticking
go.
away. The aggressiveness is going to kick up. So,
Oh yeah,
you know,
17 laps to go right now, Seth. That's gonna be, you
it's the
know,
proverbial
and a
calm
pit
before the
stop.
storm.
And a pit stop. Don't forget the pit
Yep.
stop. Who are they
A couple
catching
trucks up
again?
there.
Melson and Prib now.
We know that Melson is very much so off the pace. He took the big shot into the back of Richard Martin that brought out the first caution and the only caution up to this point tonight. When Prib now got the lucky dog under the caution flag, got back in the lead lap, and is in danger of losing that lap back here. There you see the both of them heading into turn 3. And there are the race leaders barreling down on them about 15, 20 miles per hour faster than what those 2 single cars are running. So we've entered into the part of the race, Michael, that the drivers like to call setting up for that final pit stop. A lot of the moves that we're seeing right now, the double wide, even the 3 wide moves, are drivers trying to get those extra 1, 2, 3 positions to improve on where they would enter to pit road once the window opens. And even those moves that we're seeing right now, while they may look inconsequential to the spectator, to the fan, they could end up being a difference maker into who's going to cross the line and capture the checkered flag, or who's going to be the first bridesmaid.
Well, we just saw a bunch of them hit down to the inside
Oh,
immediately.
Chuck McClure on the apron. What a save by the former champion. Not sure who tagged him, but he just pulled a Kyle Busch right there. Sideways drifting on the apron, got that thing righted, came back up on the track. Credit to everybody for giving him the room to gather it back up, but that could have been caution number 2, and it wasn't.
Yeah, that was absolutely incredible. I didn't see it when it happened, but my gosh, some great driving ability right there.
I don't know. I think tonight Chuck McClure just earned a nickname, the Wheelman. I mean, that was amazing. That truck was wrecked. That was flat out wrecked, and somehow he continues on. As a matter of fact, he, I think, crossed the line still inside of the top 15. So the fact that he only lost as few spots as he did and is still up to speed, that is a miracle in and of itself. But a bit of a heart-stopping moment for all these drivers. And I think you talked about it there, Michael. I think a big reason why we end up seeing that contact, we saw a lot of drivers migrate from the middle line down to the inside line, setting up for that final pit stop. So that mass migration to the bottom might have led to some checkup, which eventually led to the contact, almost spinning McClure out. So, boy, little dicey there. And again, we're getting close to the end of the race. There's gonna be a couple more heart-stopping moments, I think, before we get that checkered flag out there.
Yeah, you can catch your breath now, Seth. It's okay.
I don't think my breath's the one that I have to worry about catching. I think we need to have. I really wish it'd be so cool if we had like a heart monitor reader on some of these drivers, because I would love to know what the heart rate was right there on Chuck McClure.
Right, I agree. Probably would have been through the roof. Oh, I hear spinning. I hear spinning, and I don't see a caution.
It's drivers coming to pit road. I don't see anybody spun out, so it may have been somebody hard on the brakes.
Yeah, I heard somebody on the brakes. Yep.
Yeah, a lot of smoke, a lot of tire smoke there. Somebody locked up both
Chuck
front
McCurr,
tires.
Mark
It appears.
Paglia, Tim Nofsker, the same group of people that kind of came in. Real early.
Interesting, because they're coming down pit road
with almost 10 laps to go.
Yeah, it's a little earlier than I expected. About 2-3 laps earlier than I expected they were going to come down pit road. I thought these drivers were going to probably stretch as far as they possibly could to take on the less amount of fuel as possible.
Oh boy, here we go.
Spirito, Seminara, Metallic all in. They're pretty well spaced out. Very nice organized formation onto pit road, so they all make it on safely. Now, they make it on safely, but we also have to remember that it's a driver's responsibility to get that thing back down to 55 miles per hour, because Yeah, you could throw a race away by wrecking onto pit road. You could also throw a race away by speeding on pit road. And the last thing you want to do is get hit with a black flag with less than 10 to go.
Almost just had a wreck down the back straightaway. I'm not sure why Wayne Pribnow was blocking Andrew Miller a little bit there, but Andrew Miller, who was the car who came down pit road in the first group last time under green, is now going to come down probably with the last group this time.
Palmer leading that group, and they will dive onto pit road. Rodney Sullins, Ken Roberts, Andrew Miller, and Wayne Pribnow all down.
Terry Bombard stays out.
That turns the race lead over to Nate Balzer in the 079. Making his second start of his career. We saw him make his debut last week.
10 laps to go.
Kelly Causey's going to stay out there with him. Terry Bombard in the 10. And Chris Elliott in the 9. 77 of Donnie Garrett, the lap machine there as well. We've also got the 043 of Brian Lavelle. So we've got about 5 drivers, I believe, now that we are waiting on to complete this cycle of green flag pit stops. Keeping an eye on the race control so far. Nobody has been hit with a penalty. Big lockup there. Oh, Chris Elliott into the infield grass. Almost ran into the back of Terry Bombard, but swerved right to avoid. No caution going to come out. That's going to be a costly mistake, though, for one of the few dodges in the field.
I'm pretty sure he had it puckered right there when he saw it in his rearview mirror.
That he did, as now, here's your potential exchange for the lead. Greg Palmer coming off of pit road, but the momentum, the up to speed, goes to Knopfsker, Schilling, Paglia, and Chuck McClure. Pretty interesting group of 4 we've got right there, because the only driver in this group that's taken a checkered flag this season, McClure, the season opener. Knopfsker, Schilling, and Paglia, they're still looking for their first checkered flag.
We'll see how it goes. We're under 10 laps to go, so now it's flat out, never lift.
Kelly Causey, he is going to be falling back outside the top 10. He just completed his pit stop along with Terry Bombard and Nathan Balser.
Ooh, we're going to see if these guys start making it too wide here.
And now...
And then the 24... There goes Despirito to the outside.
Now it's the question that we've asked week after week around this time. When do you make the move? When is too early? When is just right? Because we have to address the elephant in the room like we do every week. There is the possibility that this race ends under caution. If we end up having a yellow flag come out anywhere past the conclusion of lap 62, this race would more than likely end under yellow with the flying of a caution, especially with the fact that we've got about 5 drivers 1 lap down. So that adds an extra lap of pacing onto the amount of time that they run around behind the pace car.
Oh, the outside lane dying off here. The 08 car, they're gonna drive around.
Joe Spirito, former winner this season, took the checkered flag back in race 4. He's got Metallic behind him. Bob Seminara, last week's winner, is up there also. Doug Hulick looked like he was going to go with the top line. Now he jumps down to the bottom, so very few numbers up there in that outside line. Despirito falling back, Metallic falling back. Looks like Bob Seminara jumped ship. Gonna jump down to the inside line here.
Yeah, he just lost a lot of momentum.
So now, looking at least at the top 2, we'll obviously talk about the other drivers inside the top 5, but I'm looking at both Knopfsker and Brian Schilling. Both drivers right now are in position to make it into the playoffs through points. Knopfsker is 7th in points, Schilling is 3rd in points, but neither one of them have a victory, and we know that that victory is 5 bonus points towards the playoffs. So I don't think Brian Schilling's going to be content to ride behind Knopfsker, especially if you think about it. Schilling already has a runner-up finish this season to Chuck McClure when those two pulled off the fuel strategy miracle in the season opener.
That'll make things interesting. We got 5 laps to go.
Mark Paglia in that 28.
6.
He's 29th in points. What a shot in the arm it would be for the driver of the Quality Care Ford F-Series if he were to win here tonight.
Passing Chris Elliott, who made that big mistake coming on the pit road.
Chris is more than likely going to finish this race a lap down. 24 drivers on the lead lap. A couple of other drivers that had some issues with their pit stops here in the closing stages. Ken Roberts, very slow pit stop for the pole sitter.
Man,
He's
these
just
drivers
barely
are
on the tail
really,
end of the lead lap.
they're really trying to get that outside lane going.
And lap 62 on
Now,
the board.
Now we have 5 laps to go.
So it is getting down to that window where we may end up saying next flag ends the race. Again, we'll give the disclaimer. If a caution comes out between now and the checkered flag, we will go back. We will review what brought out the race-ending yellow, but we will stay with the race leaders because it is raced back to the start-finish line. And we don't want to miss the potential battle for the victory. But at least right now, fingers crossed, it looks like we could make it to the white flag and end up finishing this thing regardless of if the caution comes out or not.
You just had to go and jinx it, didn't you?
I had to. I'm sorry.
Only 3 trucks are wanting to go to the outside lane, and it's not doing it. They're just, is it just because there's too many lap cars in front of them?
Well, I think it's not only that, but the fact that the inside line is not the inside line. They're running the middle line. If they were pinned down the inside line, I think you'd see Metallic and company making a lot of ground up there. But since right now both are kind of sharing that middle line, both are taking that optimal grip lane, and it's not allowing Metallic and company to be able to close up ground. But now they're going to have someone jump up there with them. Greg Palmer in the 22.
Thought about it.
Well, not going to work that time. Rodney Sullins is going to be the odd man out in that one. Boy, they keep peeking. They keep looking. Maybe if they catch a group of trucks, of slower trucks at the right time, because I just noticed, was that about 2 trucks all together right there? Yeah, that's Doug Maluski and Dave Melson running nose to tail. Obviously, they would more than likely get out of the way, but if this outside line could get a little bit of draft, a little bit of slipstream off of those two, they could maybe use that momentum to get alongside.
They're trying. They are trying so hard. You can see it. All it's going to take is one more truck to move up, and that could be it right there.
At this point, push is going to have to come to shove for that outside line if they're going to make up any ground and get Greg Palmer up alongside of Tim Knopfsker. They've got them alongside the 4th place truck of McClure, as this time by it will be 2 laps to go at Talladega. Palmer now alongside, halfway alongside of Paglia, the 3rd place truck.
They're trying, Seth.
They're moving.
It's gonna be good.
They're moving. Momentum is going forward. Now side by side with the 28 might be to the right rear quarter panel of Schilling with Greg Palmer down this back straightaway. Watch the bumpers. You'll see no daylight there on that outside line.
Trying. He's to the outside of 2nd place. He's got a nose on his bumper there. Oh my lord.
Oh man, they
Please just get it back to the white flag.
Those bumpers were all locked from 1st back to 9th. Through the tri-oval they come. Schilling shoving the heck out of Knopfsker on that inside line. Got to be careful not to bump here in the tri-oval.
Oh, there it goes, there it goes, there it goes.
Hang
Saved
on
it.
to it. Door banging with Schilling and Metallic. They keep it straight. White flags in the air. Metallic will drop to the back, and Palmer has lost his drafting help on the top side.
This could set up a big run to the checkered here.
What
The
does
outside
Paglia
lane
do?
is killed.
Paglia was looking a little antsy there, like he wanted to dive to the inside, but if he made the move, would anybody go with him? Palmer now has Joe DeSpirito to help push him. Oh, I don't think they've got the numbers, though. Somebody's got to jump up to that outside line there out of turn 4. Schilling's taking a look. Paglia's taking a look.
He's trying to get a run.
They're all trying to figure out where to go. Schilling, when does he step out? Does he step out? He's looking through the tri-oval.
Nope,
Still
looks like
stays
he's
in
content.
line.
He's content to run 2nd.
Looks like he is. Oh, he'll take a peek here late, but not going to be enough time. Tim Knopfsker is going to make it 8 for 8 on the season with different winners going to victory lane. He leads 28 laps here tonight. A dominant truck, a dominant performance, and if he wasn't already locked into the playoffs with his 7th position in the points coming into tonight, that just solidified it. Knopfsker, he's going to be battling for the championship in a couple weeks' time.
Oh, yeah. And I'm telling you, that was exciting. I'm so glad that they saved it.
One caution tonight. How about that?
Yeah, that was
One
incredible.
caution, 2 rounds of green flag pit stops. I mean, we've seen some carnage here in the last couple of weeks. Trucks up in the air, up in the catch fence. Here tonight, though, it came down to who had the best green flag strategy.
And a checkered flag for Tim Nofsker.
Oscar for
Great
the
run.
first time this season.
Oh well,
They took out the pace truck.
and his friend in the front nose of his car.
Well, he ran a clean race all night long, so he'll have a little bit of battle scars from his victory celebration. Salutes the fans here at Talladega Super Speedway. First win on the season for the driver of the 088. And we will be talking with him in just a few moments down in victory lane, along with our other podium finishers. Brian Schilling going to bring it home with another runner-up finish this season, and Mark Paglia is going to get his best finish of the year as he will complete the podium in the 3rd position. Let's look at said finishing results here before we eventually go down trackside and talk with our top 3. Chuck McClure will bring it home in the 4th position. Rodney Sullins in 5th. Number of former winners right there. Greg Palmer, he's going to finish in 6th with Doug Hewlett. Good run there by Doug. The lone Toyota in the field here tonight. He's going to bring it home 7th. Joe DeSpirito and Bob Seminara. They tried to get that outside line going. Couldn't quite do it there. They just didn't have the numbers, didn't have the time. They lost all that momentum when Metallic got kicked out. So they'll get 8th and 9th. Metallic dropped to the tail end of that lead pack. He'll finish with a top 10 run. And then you ended up having a second group back there with Terry Bombard finishing in 11th. How about Nathan Balzer? Good run there in his second start of his career, bringing home 12th. Kelly Causey, Bernie Mobbs, and Andrew Miller. That was the top 15. And the rest of the drivers to finish this race on the lead lap. Dixon in 16th, Brian Lavelle in 17th, David Cannon in 18th, Billy Elliser 19th, Curlin Hurst completed the top 20, and then Jason Scheck and Cy Jones. They finished 21st and 22nd. Here you see the rest of the drivers and where they finished. A number of these drivers that we see here finishing off the lead lap, most of them were drivers that had some pit road miscues, whether on the first round of green flag pit stops or that last round of green flag pit stops. Obviously, Donnie Garrett connection issues, and believe that Glenn Harris and Wayne Pribnow, they were dealing with some race damage, as was the 6 of Wiley Coates. So that's why they were slow. Only 3 drivers finished out of the race. Doug Maluski parked it late in this one. Richard Martin, who was involved in the only caution of the night in 32nd, and John Godfrey in the 33rd position after he was involved in a stack up during that first round of green flag pit stop cycle. But no doubt about it, I'm looking right now at names that were up at the top of the point standings, names that were at the bottom of the point standings. We're going to have, I think, another points shakeup. Might make things interesting for who's inside, who's outside of the top 10 in points when all is concluded here. I mean, I'm looking Glenn Harris, Chris Elliott, John Godfrey. These were drivers that were close, if not in the top points wise. They're all finishing outside of the top 15. Matter of fact, finishing outside of the top 20. I'm trying to look and see what drivers might be able to capitalize and move their way in. And only one I'm seeing right now possibly could be the 31 of Bernie Mobbs, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, Michael, what do you say we go down trackside? I'm certain that our podium finishers are standing by and ready to give their interviews. So let's kick things off with tonight's 3rd place finisher, the driver of that number 28 Ford F-Series, Mark Paglia. Hey, Mark, it's Michael and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yes, sir. How you doing, Seth?
Doing good. Well, man, I mean, heck of a run here tonight. You bring it home up at the front of the field, but we saw a lot of movement, a lot of drivers kind of showing the nose there through the tri-oval and through 3 and 4 as well. I mean, was the plan to step out and make a move, or was it trying to maybe keep everybody behind you and just secure that podium finish?
For me, it was just to secure that finish. I hadn't had a very good finish over this past season. I've been up towards the front most of the races, but I just for something I've been in the wrong place at the wrong time. I don't want to say people have been wrecking me, but I've been involved in a lot of incidences, and this I just wanted to finish that third place and help out Tim and Brian and Chuck.
I believe we have Michael here. Michael, are you there?
Yeah, I was letting you have the questions.
Oh, okay. Well, I do have another question. You talk about the fact, the bad luck that you've had. We've seen a lot of violent wrecks here in the last couple of weeks. I mean, did it kind of throw you a little bit of a curveball here tonight to strategize for long green flag runs? We only saw the caution flag wave one time tonight, two cycle of green flag pit stops. So I don't know. Were you kind of in a groove of making sure you avoided wrecks, and then all of a sudden here tonight, it was more about positioning yourself for pit stops?
Absolutely. We always think there's going to be another accident or a wreck there towards the end of these races because everybody gets so intense. And I was prepared for it, but I was crossing my fingers it wouldn't happen because I was up front and I had a pretty good position going. I saw Josh and that other group coming from the outside, and I knew that was going to be a real threat. And I don't know what happened. They got a little bit squirrely, I think, going into that last lap, and they lost a draft on there and Greg, and then Tim, Brian, and myself and Chuck got to be able to get out there in front a little bit.
Now, I'll tell you, how important is it to get yourself lined up with the right group of cars when you come down pit road for green flag pit stops compared to like when cautions come out?
Oh, it's paramount. It really is to have that good group of guys that you're familiar with pitting with. Where their break points are as they're crossing the line, and we just kind of know where each person's going to go and not going to be running into each other. So it's paramount that you pit with people that you're familiar with.
Obviously, the good finish tonight, the big field, we've seen it a lot of times where drivers have those huge point swings. Undoubtedly, going to gain a number of spots in the points coming, leaving tonight, heading into next week. You came into tonight's race 29th in the point standings. You're probably going to be going into next week with a shot of getting inside the top 20, but time's running out. Only two races left here in the regular season, so what's the mentality heading into those? Obviously, I know you'd love to be able to get a victory and be able to win your way into the playoffs. But I mean, are you able to formulate a strategy like that at the drop of the green flag, or is the way that these Talladega races are so unpredictable? Is it a constant play by ear?
Well, it's definitely unpredictable, but uh, definitely gonna take what the next race is going to give me. If I can place like I did tonight, in the top three, maybe even the top five, I'll be okay with that. But then that just leaves a lot of pressure of having to get that win the following race. But it'd be nice to knock it out next race, that's for sure. So the strategy will be to get up front, stay out of the way of all the wrecks if there are any. If we get lucky again next week, like we did this week with just one incident, and that'll be a lot more fun. I think that way. Personally, I just enjoy racing without the caution flags.
Well, it's nice to see you be able to get a solid finish here tonight. Podium finish for you, Mark. Congratulations. And now we'll give you the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Well, I want to shout out to you and Mike because you guys do such a great job. I know everybody does at the end of their little interview, but you guys are doing an outstanding job. And I just want to thank a couple of my teammates that helped me through. Tim, Brian, and Chuck. They do a great job of kind of pulling me along in these races. They're the cream of the crop. If I can hang with them, usually good things happen. So thanks for all you guys do.
That's Mark Paglia, brings home third place here tonight after a very interesting green flag pit stop race at Talladega. Congratulations once again. Best of luck here down the home stretch of the regular season.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, Mike.
Mark Paglia of the podium finishers started the furthest back. He started from the 23rd spot. And speaking of 23rd, he gained 6 spots in the standings here tonight, up to 23rd in the point standings. He'll head into next week 19 points behind the 20th in the standing cut line. Very important if he is to pick up a victory
I was
in
gonna
the
s-
next week or two.
I was gonna say that. Yeah, he's definitely in a situation where he's got to win to be a part of the playoffs.
Well, a driver that tonight, even if he doesn't win the next 2 weeks, could have very much solidified himself a spot in the playoffs, being top 10 in points, is a runner-up finisher here tonight. Let's see if we can talk with Brian Schilling. Hey, Brian, it's Michael and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah, what's going on?
Well, man, I mean, it's no surprise that we see you the highest driver in the point stands without a victory with the consistent finishes you've had week after week. Second time we see you finish runner up here this evening. We saw you kind of show the nose there through 3 and 4. We were trying to figure out if you were trying to block the top side getting any momentum or if you were trying to make a move. But through the trial, well, kind of seemed like you were committed to ride behind that 088. Is it the consistency you've had this season and the fact it looks like you're definitely going to at least point your way in through the top 10 the points that kind of made the decision for you on whether you were going to make the move for the win or not?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I need to make sure I finish the race before anything. And apologies to Josh Metallic. Me and him did get together. I think with 2 or 3 to go. The car got light in the trial. Well, I got into him. I apologize. 100 times to him on that.
I'll tell you, it was a heck of a run to see you out there doing pretty good. Did the green flag pit stops play a big factor into this race in your opinion? Because the last couple of races, all you guys' pit stops have been really under caution. So did them coming down on the green make a bit of a difference in this race, you think?
Big time. Hot pitting is it's a learned art. I don't do it as well as a lot of other guys, but it definitely can, if it's done well and you get, like a half dozen guys that go in together and you can get lined up immediately, you can definitely leapfrog your way right to the front.
Well, Brian, with your second place finish here tonight, you're now tied for second in the overall point stands as well. It's certainly looking like mathematically there's no way you can drop outside of the top 10 in the point stands. So, pretty much here tonight, I think you're a lock to make it into the playoffs. With that being said, do we maybe see a little bit more aggressive if you're up at the front in the next 2 weeks? Try and get that extra 5 bonus points with a race win.
If it's there, it'd be nice. I'm not going to change the way I, approach things though. It's not my MO. I mean, I felt like I was a little more aggressive tonight than usual, just trying to get up to the front, but I really don't want to change what works.
Well, Brian, another great performance for you here tonight. Second place run for you. Pretty much solidifying yourself in the playoffs. So congratulations on that. It's gonna be a lot of fun to watch you down this home stretch and follow that forward to the front in the next 2 weeks. But now we're gonna give you the opportunity to do some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Yes, thank you to Donnie Garrett for putting money towards this. All RTG for also their contribution to this. Thank you guys for putting this broadcast on. Always a good show. Congrats to Timmy Nosker. Thank you to all the admins here that do all the work behind the scenes to make this stuff happen every week. And thank you every driver that comes out to run this every week.
That's Brian Schilling. He's your runner finisher here tonight at Talladega. Another great run for that Ford truck. Congratulations, Brian. And hopefully we'll talk to you in the next couple of weeks here.
All right, thanks guys.
In the 8 starts that Brian Schilling has made this season, only 2 finishes outside of the top 10. He has definitely had good consistency. Let's now go down to victory lane. I'm sure the celebration is still continuing, but let's talk with our 8th different winner in as many races. Let's talk with Tim Nofsker. Tim, it's Michael and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Got you guys. How you doing?
Well, man, I mentioned that earlier on tonight. You took me aside, let me know what the playoff situation actually is, how you qualify in. I don't know. Did you know something I didn't know? Because now you're locked into the playoffs with this win here tonight.
Well, I can breathe easier. I had to miss a week, move my son to Denver, and so yeah, I'm breathing a big sigh of relief right now.
And it was a heck of a show you guys put on. You put yourself in good positions with the green flag pit stops, and overall, just how do you, other than being in victory lane, obviously your race went pretty great. What are your opinions on this race? Only having one caution this weekend.
Well, I think everybody refocused. We had a nice drivers meeting at the beginning of the race. Everybody recalibrated their focus and you know, realized that, you know, this is like the best of the best drivers in this league. And I mean, you know, we're better than the show we put on last week. So I think everybody just kind of settled down and got back to racing.
You know, there's no doubt about it here tonight. You had a dominant truck, the only driver to lead double digit laps, a race high 29 laps led, spent a lot of time out in front. So I'm going to ask you a twofold question. I mean, first off, obviously your truck was really strong, but did you think that maybe in the closing stages, people were going to notice that you had spent so much time out in front and were going to try and get around you? And did you have a strategy for that?
Well, I was not going to leave my boys behind me. They helped me get to where I was tonight. So you know, we had a little discussion in the closing laps, and you know, even when they tried to gang up on us on the high side, I said I'm staying middle. You know, I needed a good points night for one after last week, so we had just kind of dedicated ourselves to each other, and you know, we always have an unwritten rule. You know, let's get to the end and then we'll race it up in the last couple laps. But just to help me secure a win, I think they just kind of stayed in line, and it was a good points night for all of us.
Now with your victory here tonight, we've hit 8 different drivers going to victory lane in as many races. We've yet to see a multi-time winner on the season. I mean, you were talking about the different drivers you were working with here this evening. I've got to feel I'm seeing a lot of drivers in the last couple of weeks that have finished up inside the top 5, up inside the top 10, that are sitting around that area, 10th to 20th in the point standings. We know that a win, if they're in that area, puts them into the playoffs. How much diplomacy goes on between drivers here down the home stretch of, hey, I know that you're already locked in. How about working with me, helping me be able to get a win to try and lock myself into the playoffs? Does that go on behind the scenes?
You know, to a certain extent, you know, I think the friendliness deteriorates as we get closer to the cutoff, and I think that I help those who help me. You know, it's a cooperation, and you know, I've got a pretty good core group of drafters that I like running with. You know, I like running with probably 3/4 of the guys that we run with. It's fun, but you know, when it comes time where you get one of those guys 10th to 20th that need that win, you know, the diplomacy kind of goes out the window.
Well, Tim, congratulations on a job well done here tonight. Dominating performance, as we said. Your first win on the season. That now locks you into the playoffs to battle for the championship. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch and see what you do here in these final 2 races of the regular season. But it's now time to hand that microphone over to you for some victory lane thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Well, I've been waiting all season to sit here with you guys. And first of all, I absolutely have to thank Chuck McClure and Mark Paglia and Brian Schilling for basically helping push me to this win. Yeah, as you guys know, you can't do it alone out here, and you know, it's good to have guys that you can trust. So I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys without them. And then I also have to give a special thank you to my daughter, Lexi, and her family, Dan, Chloe, and Jackson. They tune in week in and week out and watch. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, but she's always texting me, rooting me on. So I absolutely have to thank her. And she also gave me, for Father's Day, a special Sim Racer t-shirt, which I believe has brought me luck. So can't watch that for a while. And then I'd also like to thank Dave Cannon and Sean Prime, the glue that holds us all together. Those guys just keep everything going straight. And give a shout out to Prime. He was going to race tonight and his back was bothering him, so hopefully he's feeling better. Hopefully he got to watch. And then I'd like to thank you guys for the outstanding job that you guys do. is really cool to watch these back. And you know, a lot of times you can pick up some things you do right and some things you do wrong, and so it's a good platform. So we appreciate everything you do as well.
Well, it's a big win tonight for Tim Knopfsker. It secures him a spot in this season's playoffs. Congratulations once again, Tim. Go and enjoy this victory, and maybe we'll get to talk to you again in victory lane down this home stretch. Still got a couple more races.
Outstanding. Let's hope so.
Tim Knopfsker continues to celebrate his victory here tonight. Going to do a little bit of house cleaning here before our closing thoughts. Obviously, we were keeping tabs on the semifinals of the Tally Challenge Bracket Series with his second place finish here tonight. Brian Schilling topples Joe DeSpirito, who brings it home P8. So he will be moving on to the final, where he will be taking on Bob Seminara. Seminara finished ninth. He was taking on Grant Wesley tonight. As we documented, Wesley was not in the field. And so next week, the finals of the bracket series, it is Brian Schilling versus Bob Seminara. I'm not going to lie, Michael, maybe two of the most consistent drivers on the season. So it's going to be hard to pick a winner there.
Absolutely. And you know how it's hard to pick a winner at any time, not just between two drivers.
That is so true. Also, if we're taking a look at the current playoff picture right now, if the season were to conclude at this point in time, 12 drivers would make it into the playoffs. We have most of our former winners up inside the top 10 in points, but with not being in the field tonight, Grant Wesley drops outside of the top 10. He's going to be 17th in points heading into next week. And then Richard Martin, who had the hard luck tonight, he was already outside the top 10 coming into this evening. He's going to be heading into next week, 13th in points. So the other 6 drivers are inside the top 10 in the point standings. But we did have an exchange as well, Michael, for that potential final playoff spot as far as the 10th position. We ended up having a tough break here tonight for, I believe it was John Godfrey, who was inside of the top 10, the points coming into tonight. And moving into his spot in the 10th position is going to be Chris Elliott. So Godfrey is out, Elliott currently in, but I'm looking at about 6-7 drivers that are still looking for a victory, and there's only about 15 point separation. So I'm telling you what, I'm not very good at doing the live calculations, but
Anybody, let's just put it that way. Any one of those drivers.
It's going to be so tight, tight down this home stretch. 2 races left. I mean, I can't imagine the storylines we're going to have heading into that regular season finale.
Absolutely, I agree. I makes me excited and can't wait for the rest for these next couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate everyone that tuned in tonight. We are a perfect 8 for 8 so far in different drivers going to victory lane. Tim Knopfsker, the latest of those. We hope you guys will continue to join us here for the rest of this regular season as we bit by bit begin to construct what the playoff grid is going to look like next week. It is the penultimate race of the regular season, race 9. We'll be back here next Thursday night. Green flag scheduled to fly at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you guys will join us as well. Michael?
A penultimate? Because
it's
penultimate.
Penultimate. I'll work on that this week. I probably won't get myself in the habit of saying it correctly, but I'll work on it this week. But man, Michael, a bit of I won't say unusual, but based off of the last couple of weeks, unexpected and quite pleasantly surprising green flag race here tonight at Talladega. Nice to see the strategy mix up a little bit here as well. We talked with Pagley, and he said, I wasn't ready to strategize for a race like this. So a good one here tonight, and I appreciate you joining me in the booth.
No problem. I can't wait to see you next week.
Absolutely. Thanks again to everybody that tuned in tonight. Congratulations to Tim Knopfsker on the victory here at Talladega. We'll see you guys next Thursday night for the continuation of the 56th season of the RTG Talladega Challenge. For Michael Norman, I've been Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday night, folks. You've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support.